Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the College Town Podcast. My name is Derek DeBurger. With me is Sam Roth.
How are we doing, guys?
It flips on the Zoom calls. So to me, I'm on the right and you're on the left, but I know that you're on the right and I'm on the left.
Yep, exactly.
Which is exactly what the audience will see because you're recording this. So
hmm
gesturing to you, but I'm really gesturing into the void of nothingness.
I see. Wise man.
Anyway, I mean, it happened. I think we had our first really good weekend of college football. I think it
Yeah,
finally happened.
it was
Look,
kind of ridiculous.
there were a lot of upsets
Yes, there
going on.
was. Uh, a lot. And a lot of close games. Like I think three ranked teams went into overtime.
Missouri, Vandy, Texas A&M, Bowling Green was close, even though Bowling Green played Penn State really close. Uh,
Right. And Illinois, Nebraska, Missouri, Vanderbilt, and Buffalo, NIU.
yeah, which I'm not shocked. Honestly, I'm not shocked. I told you Northern Illinois was not good, that it was just about Notre Dame, and here we are.
I
They've lost.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, and also Kansas State losing to BYU. But then what's weird about that game, though, is like if you look at the metrics and you go back and watch the game, they outrushed, outpassed, did everything. It was just
Turnovers.
BYU's defense that showed up when it mattered. You cut out. I'm sorry.
Special teams will kill you. I mean,
Yeah.
they had a muffed punt return that
Mm-hmm.
he go back and get, and then he just returned it for a touchdown. I mean,
Jeez.
got to stay this one. But let's talk about what we all know is the biggest game of this past weekend, and that's Colorado Baylor.
What?
Yes. Did you watch that game?
No, I did not. Did not watch a snippet of it.
That game was incredible.
Really?
Oh my God, yes.
I saw the highlight of where like Travis Hunter in overtime got the fumble. I saw that highlight.
Anything you saw from the game?
That is like the only highlight that I truly saw.
So, uh, pretty much the entire game, Baylor was up 7. Like,
Okay.
pretty much, it was looking like I was like, yeah, I called it. I thought Baylor was gonna win. I was right. Um, they have the ball with like 2 minutes left. They're marching down the field. They get stopped, and they're like in fringe field goal range, and they're like, okay, let's kick it. If we go up by 10, we've doomed them. If we don't, they don't have any timeouts, and they've got to score a touchdown to tie it. It's a win-win.
hmm
So they kick the field goal, they miss it, and then Colorado has less than 2 minutes to drive down the field, try and score. They're driving down the field. They get to like the 42 with like 10 seconds left. Throw a long pass. Guy's wide open. No one's behind him. Drops it. And it's like, oh man, that's it. That was the opportunity. So with 2 seconds left on the clock, they just have to run a Hail Mary. Just as you would expect, instantly Baylor gets pressure on Shador Sanders. He's got to roll a route. He's got to roll out to the left. He just heaves a pass. I thought it was going to get tipped. Like I didn't think he was going to even get the pass off because there was a defender so close to him. He just throws it up. Some guy just lays down, catches it in the end zone. Touchdown on the Hail Mary. They're going to overtime. Then they score in the first overtime, and then they force the fumble on the goal line to win the game. But so they had to review that. And before the review, the student section came out and tore down a goalpost. They're screaming like on the PA, game is not over. The game is not over. And it turned out to be over, but like, man, that was a fantastic ending
Oh my
to it.
God.
It was incredible. The ESPN's FPI gave, when there was 2 seconds left, gave Baylor a 99.3% chance to win.
Man.
At .7, it'll kill you.
All right.
Colorado's 3-1 now.
Yeah, they are.
Is,
Colorado is 3-1.
is it
We'll
time
see.
to
No, because who have they played? I mean,
They have wins over North Dakota State, Colorado State, and
and Baylor. So a good FCS school, a bad FBS school, and Baylor's not supposed to be anything this year.
they got killed by Nebraska, who lost
Yeah, who lost to Illinois.
at
That
home.
was a good game. Yeah, what a game that was. It's a good Friday night game.
Oh, the Friday night slate was fantastic.
Yeah, it was.
Stanford was really good. That game was really good.
Yeah,
Uh, San Jose State, Washington State
that
was
went into like double overtime or something I saw. Like something ridiculous.
Washington
Yeah.
State looks pretty.
The game
But
I want to talk about because I didn't get a chance to see it, I just saw it on the scroll, was JMU North Carolina. Like
oh,
how do you get like you read 70 to 50 points? Here's some stats to give you context on it. After the game, North Carolina's head coach Mack Brown basically said that he offered to step down. That's how bad the loss was. He offered to step down.
you, I don't know how sincere that offer was.
But
I,
to,
I, but like, I think it was one of those things like, if you guys think I'm the problem, I'll step down. And then everyone's like, yeah, no, you might be the problem. And then everyone at the school was like, he's not stepping down. He's not.
but then the other thing
So
about it is like when you think about Mack Brown, when he was hired 6 or 7 years ago, he was seen as a bridge hire because of his age.
yeah,
And he's been there 6 or 7 years. So it's like, at what point is that change going to be? Another fun stat for you. UNC gave up 53 points in the first half to JMU, right? This is more points than their men's basketball team gave up in the first half of all season last year. Max was 46.
had a good defense last year. Basketball.
I mean, it's unbelievable. 53 points in a half.
Yeah, I
That just
watched the first half of that game. It was ugly. It was bad. I mean, they couldn't stop a nosebleed.
mhm.
Them too long for their offense to get going. Um, and then also JMU was aggressive in that game. JMU wanted to pull off the upset, and so they were going for everything basically, and
Uh-huh.
they got it all. Which like for all you like analytics guys out there, I guess this is what happens when you go for it every single time. You just score every single time.
Yeah.
It's insane. But yeah, no, I mean North Carolina, they couldn't do anything in that game. Their offense, again, it got going. They scored like 50 points.
Well, it's 50 points. I imagine we're scoring 50 points and you still lose by 20. It's ridiculous.
I mean, by far the worst defensive performance of the year for them.
Yeah.
I think this is the worst defensive performance that when they gave up like, I mean, obviously because it's a bigger number, but when they gave up like 60 something to App State.
Yeah.
State scored like 40 points in the fourth quarter or something like that. Like, yeah, that is I mean, I watched like the first, not even the full first half. I just watched the first quarter and I was like, this is
Mhm. Yeah.
maybe JMU is a little bit better than I thought. Uh
But it's also like North Carolina, who we're not really expecting too much from this year. Or at least I'm not. I can't speak for you.
I was expecting them to be like, you know,
Middle of the road ACC.
7-5, give or take.
Right. Um,
Like, I mean, the first half of their schedule was so easy, and that includes James Madison.
mhm.
And because they got destroyed by James Madison, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know how. I mean, for like North Carolina at least, I don't know how easy it is. So they were, in all honesty, they should have started the year 6-0 because they had a very easy schedule,
Yeah,
and they didn't have an injured quarterback. Maybe they do.
true.
Who? But I don't know. The quarterback can't play defense.
No, he cannot. He cannot stop the ball.
Yes. All right, let's move on to some other games. Some of the bigger ones we've got Michigan and USC
What a game that was.
pulling off the upset.
Yeah. Did you watch that game? It was a great game.
watched the end of the game
That was
because
basically what I did too. I was watching Louisville play, obviously, and then glad I didn't attend the Louisville game because it was hot as heck out there.
it's hot as heck.
Yeah, it was hot as can be. It was 130 on field.
Yeah, yeah, very hot. Yet,
But anyway, sorry, Michigan USC.
Michigan USC, USC got off to a very, very slow start.
Yeah, they did.
They were able to take the lead at one point, but then Michigan he took the lead for the final time with like 30 some seconds left.
Yeah, on a 4th and goal, and it looked like for a second they weren't going to get it, and they were still able to muster it in. And it also seemed like USC's passing offense wasn't working. It seemed like they were able to run the ball. So with 30 seconds left, they were really, I felt like they would struggle to advance the ball down the field.
Yeah. 30, 32. 32. That's the total number of passing yards Michigan had in that game.
Checks out.
Yeah. I don't know what Sharon Moore has against passing the ball. I just know that whenever Kirk Ferentz retires, he's got a landing spot.
After these sanctions come down on Moore.
Yeah. That's just, I mean, look, the defense for USC was not supposed to be a finished product this year, but it was supposed to be improved. I do think it is improved. Last year, this USC team, they get run all over by this team. I mean, if this game is played last year, I don't think Michigan runs the ball once. I mean, it throws the ball once because they just would be able to run at will. So yeah, they were terrible in the run defense, but it's better than they would have been last year.
Yeah.
I'm still not out on USC,
I'm not either.
but I do think this was not a great loss for them.
No. I mean, Michigan did prove some things though in this game because I thought USC was at least. I mean, they did beat LSU, but then LSU, in my opinion, is not that great.
But
Yeah.
but I mean, you want to talk about another team that had a pretty bad loss. Utah beat Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State, and Cam Rising did not play in that game.
And Cam Rising did not play, and nor was it close. The score showed 22-19, but with like 5-6 minutes left to go in the game, Utah was like up by 10, or I think it was 10, 11. It was up by 11, and they were kind of like sitting back, letting Oklahoma State get everything underneath short and like only rushing 3 and just like trying to take clock and all that stuff. And Oklahoma State was able to punch it in, but then all Utah really needed to do was just catch an onside kick and kneel on the ball, and they basically won the game. So Oklahoma State just can't throw the ball. Like, their passing offense is bad. Like, huh?
It's weird because it's a Mike Gundy offense. They run the air raid,
Yeah,
and and Alan Bowman's a 7th-year quarterback. You would
he's
expect a little better.
or maybe that's why he's a 7th-year quarterback, is because after 3 years he can't get drafted.
I mean, yeah, that's the underlying thing
It,
there, but
he's it's a really bad passing attack. Like,
yeah, and then also their running game, so Oklahoma State likes to run to the outside. They really like like those stretch runs, like outside zone runs. Um, Ollie Gordon's not that good at that. He's extremely good just like running north to south.
mhm.
And last year, his big explosion was that they changed their offense around his strengths. I think teams have caught up to that. And so they're now running this style that it's not really within their playbook necessarily, but they have adapted to around all the,
Mm.
but teams are just prepping for that. And so Ollie Gordon has not been anywhere near as effective as he was last year.
Well, all it takes was watching the Arkansas game against Oklahoma to see, like, all you have to do to be competitive. Like, Arkansas went into overtime and was up big, like 21-7 at one point in that game, is that They don't have a passing attack. They don't have a way to throw the ball, stack the box, neutralize Ollie Gordon, and that offense is really struggling. Like, basically challenge them to beat you deep because I honestly don't think this team can. They can't stretch the field.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not selling all my stock with Oklahoma State because Mike Gundy's a good coach. You know, he figures things out. Like he figured out Ollie Gordon last year. Um,
Yeah.
it's not a good loss. Conversely, though, I think it's a great win for Utah. They went.
Utah has no one on their schedule now.
No, they still have Arizona, but I mean, that's their toughest team.
Right. And Arizona's not even ranked anymore, I don't think.
They're not. But Arizona's coming off a bye, so they're going to be prepared for that game at the very least. Although it is
True.
that's a tough place to play.
It is.
But I mean, they want that they got to win against Oklahoma State in Stillwater without their starting quarterback, and they were a completely different team without their starting quarterback. I think that was a phenomenal win for Utah.
I think as long as they don't, I mean, the Big 12 is theirs to take. At the very least, they could slip one game and they'll still have a shot at the top 4 seed because they're going to be in a championship game. Like, I think it's kind of written, and because I'm trying to look at where they could slip, like looking at Utah's schedule, right?
Right?
And I mean, they have Arizona next, right? After that,
Yeah,
it is literally up. They have Arizona, Arizona State, TCU, Houston, BYU, who could be something,
that's a rivalry game.
right? Colorado, Iowa State, and UCF.
Iowa State is ranked, and UCF they're undefeated.
But I mean, like, they avoid Kansas State, they avoid West Virginia.
You
I
just
mean,
named
I
that have
mean,
gotten off to.
right. I mean,
Here,
Kansas is 1-3, who I still have hope for, which is kind of ridiculous that they're 1-3, but hey.
yeah, that's how their schedule played out. You know, they played
Illinois, UNLV, and West Virginia.
yeah, played some teams that are tough.
Hmm.
But I don't know, the way I see it as of today, as of recording September 23rd,
Hmm.
the Big 12 looks like it's going to be Utah and Iowa State in the championship game.
Kansas State?
Iowa State.
I know, but what about Kansas State?
Kansas State, I really like Chris Kleiman as a coach. You know that. I've harped on this man for quite some time. I think he's a fantastic coach. I think he does such a good job at extracting the most out of his players. The one position that I don't think he's very good at doing that is quarterback.
Hmm.
Will Howard seems to be better, significantly better here at Ohio State than he was at Kansas State. Um, Part of that is, him going to play for Ryan Day, who's very good at coaching quarterbacks. But
Hmm.
part of that, I think, is Kleiman not being great with quarterbacks. And so I think the team around Avery Johnson is very good. I don't know if he himself will be able to get the most out of Avery Johnson. Also, it's Avery Johnson's redshirt freshman year. No matter how high his ceiling is, he's not going to hit it all this year. So, unless his ceiling is pretty low, um, which I don't know, I haven't
It,
watched enough of a lot of
I
people.
have not watched Avery Johnson one bit to tell you what he is.
I watched him play pretty badly against BYU.
Yeah.
Wasn't
No, it was not. All right, one game I want to get to. Is Vanderbilt good this year? I will say this much. Vanderbilt's definitely not the bottom feeder in the SEC anymore. That title has gone to Mississippi State by a mile.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think it's close. But
Oh,
number 7 Missouri went into overtime against Vanderbilt. Yes, that Vanderbilt, the one that you go to get a good education and maybe be a baseball recruit in as well. Um, that Vanderbilt football team took a number 7th ranked Missouri team into overtime. And if it wasn't for their kicker just shitting the bed on a kick in overtime, they could have still had a chance to win the game.
yeah. I mean, I think that says more about. Um,
Missouri,
I told you I don't think Missouri's offense is that good this year.
it's not.
I do think their defense is good. However, like Diego Pavia can't really throw it the ball that well.
Mm.
He's a good athlete, and they have a good system in place. Like, uh, Clark Leah's a really good like he's like a trenches guy. He's a very like rah like physical type of coach, and that shows up in his players. And he's got Jerry Kill on staff. Jerry Kill is the same exact way, and they have been able to get the most out of playing that style. And Diego Pavia works perfectly for that style because he's a great runner, not the best passer. So the fact that I do think Missouri has a good defense this year, but the fact that they gave up 20 points to a team that doesn't really pass the ball that well, that's concerning.
Do you think it's fair to compare Utah to Missouri in similar passions?
No, because I think Utah is uh entirely dependent on the health of Cam Rising. Because when Cam Rising is healthy, their offense
Hums.
it hums. And so far, the Missouri offense this year has shown it's not that great.
Mm.
It's just not.
It,
So I think Vandy is better than we thought they would be going into the year.
mhm.
Um, there's some teams that probably have Vandy on their schedule that's like, God dang it. We were supposed to take that week off.
They look exciting, man. This is the first time in my lifetime I can say it about a Vandy football team that I
Now they
can't
had,
recall.
maybe you can recall, but not in your lifetime.
My bad. That I can recall.
James Franklin was there. James Franklin won 9 games, 2 times.
Before he went to Penn State?
But guess what? 9 games is the most in a single season for Vandy.
Oh, wow.
He went 9-3 in the regular season and then lost in a bowl game one year, and then 8-4 and then won their bowl game. They've never won double-digit games. That's crazy. That's wild.
That is.
Yeah. Other quickie games that happened this weekend. Illinois, Nebraska. We mentioned it briefly, but Illinois went to Nebraska and won. Dylan Raiola at times did not look great,
Oh,
but
there's a stat for that too. Illinois is 2-0 against AP top 25 teams this season, and Illinois was 2-31 in their past 34 games against AP top 25 teams. Also to note, Nebraska has lost 25 consecutive games versus AP top 25 teams. It is the second longest streak in the nation, second only to Rutgers, who's at 40.
it's not
So,
great.
yeah,
Thought the sure, maybe we're right, but I also am high on Illinois, so
they look good.
you look
Luke
good.
Altmaier looked good too, like making a lot of right decisions throughout the entire game.
He was like 20 for 25
He
in that
was
game.
ridiculously efficient.
I'm telling you, that defense plus Luke Altmaier, they're definitely gonna be a team in the Big Ten that you have to pay attention to at the very least. They
Yeah.
played State this week, so
I mean, if there was nothing there, he was at least trying to scramble and trying to get a positive yard out of something that was broken, at least. It was
yes.
impressive.
Also, we have Louisville beating Georgia Tech. Defense really,
And
really,
special teams.
yeah, defense and special teams really carried Louisville in that game.
They
Uh,
sure did.
17 points, but Louisville came up with a win. Art
Also, shout out to Ja'Cory Brooks for an amazing catch.
was insane. Yeah. Uh, seen that. That's a crazy catch.
Yeah.
And finally, Arkansas beat Auburn by 10 points. Auburn's pretty bad.
Auburn's very bad this year. I
Yeah,
kind of want to see Auburn, Mississippi State play so I can see who the worst in the SEC is.
play each other.
I don't know. I want to see it.
I don't know, but you did put a stat down the last 3 times
They
Arkansas.
do not.
They don't. You looked it up.
They don't.
The last 3 times Arkansas has beat Auburn in a season, Auburn fired their coach that year. It's only year 2 for Hugh Freeze, so I don't think that trend will continue. It could though, because didn't they fire their last coach after 2 years? I think they fired Brian Harsin after just 2 years, and they were trying to get rid of like immediately. Do you remember the? Do you remember all
Um,
the stuff that they were trying to do?
they had Brian Harsin was there from 21 to 2022. He coached 21 games. Hugh
Yeah,
Freeze is at 15.
they tried so hard to fire Brian Harsin. I don't know if you
Mm.
remember. They After his first year, they weren't happy with him, so they someone made up claims against him, and then the school was trying to investigate him to fire him for cause. Um, and I think they ultimately decided to not go with the made up claims because then they would probably get sued into oblivion. Um, so they didn't fire him after year 1 when they clearly wanted to. Then it was COVID. And so the school was like, oh, I know how to get him. Brian Harsin's not vaccinated. Let's put a requirement on the university that you have to be vaccinated. And so they did that. People knew Brian Harsin wasn't vaccinated. They're like, hey, Brian, the deadline is December 21st or whatever. Are you vaccinated? And he's like, I'm not going to comment. And then the deadline passed and he never got fired because he got vaccinated. And then dang it, we can't fire this guy. And so I think eventually after his second year, they just fired him for performance, but they tried so hard to fire
I,
him for college.
I mean, he's still gonna get his buyout one way or the other.
Well, for cause, you don't have to
Right.
fire for cause, but
Yeah.
say they could.
And so to give you an idea, they fired Brian Harsin after 21 games. He had a record of 9-12. Right. We are currently at 15 games for Hugh Freeze. He is 7-8.
Yeah, I mean, what are they 2-2 on the year? Um,
Let me look.
5-7 last year, and they were maybe 6-7.
Auburn currently is one. They have beaten Alabama A&M, lost to California, beaten New Mexico, and lost to Arkansas. They're 2-2.
Yeah, he could be fired. I don't know.
They have Oklahoma, Georgia, Missouri, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, LA Monroe, A&M, and Alabama. Their only unranked matchups are Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and LA Monroe from here on out. And I don't see them winning those games.
That's yeah. I mean, Louisiana Monroe is better than people were expecting. People
Yeah.
were expecting the worst team in the country.
They
And 3-1.
Yeah, they genuinely might only have one more win on the schedule.
Kentucky.
I mean, who knows? But yeah, it is a fun stat. Um,
Jacob, don't worry.
uh, but yeah,
All right.
Billy Napier, Hugh Freeze, who's else is on the hot seat? Mike Norwell,
Norvell.
Norvell, is he on the hot seat?
Yes, but I don't think he's getting fired because he
Uh,
just signed a $1 extension this
oh,
past offseason.
who
Uh,
else is there?
I think his seat's cooling down a little bit. Dave Aranda, that
Right.
Hail Mary.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, those are the ones I can think of. Maybe Mack Brown.
Mack Brown, I think, is just gone at the end of this year. I don't think it's a firing. I think it's
Mutually
he's
part of.
he's burnt and done. He's That's what I think. I just I think it's not like he's going to be fired. It's going to be like a mutual agreement type of thing.
We'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, that's what, 2 months from now, the end of the
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. December. All right.
Let's get to the news and talking points. All right, let's talk about Tennessee.
Let's go for it.
Tennessee's adding a 10% talent fee onto
Yeah.
all their tickets this season. And they say that this is to be able to pay players.
It'll go directly into the players' pockets.
I think this is BS.
Yeah, it is.
What this is Tennessee wants to make similar or better margins, and they're using well, we have to pay however much to pay to players, as their excuse. Tennessee could afford it. Tennessee could easily afford it. Um, but they're raising prices because they want to.
Or
And that's all.
this is the excuse too.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's all it boils down.
It's very funny that the world of NIL and paying players, and now with this settlement, hopefully going to be settled. Who knows what's going to happen there with salary cap or whatever. Who knows what's going on with that? Uh, you would think it would come into effect where schools make the money from the TV rights deals that are worth billions of dollars that they sign with their conferences, and from their ticket sales and everything else, and that they wouldn't gouge their supporters for more money to make it all happen, to help penny pinch their margins. But it appears that's what it's coming to.
I think that's what it's been. The fact that they haven't been paying players, I think that's what it's been. Because
Mhm.
they could have been to pay players for a long time, and they just haven't. So this is not. This is no shock whatsoever. It's not a shock to my system.
It's just
Or
disappointing, I should say. It's like everything that you love about college sports now has basically been thrown out the window in tradition and every asset, and it's just about money. It's really what it's all come down to.
it's been that way. I mean, I don't like. To me, this isn't disappointing because I didn't get my hopes up that they wouldn't do something like this in the first place.
Well, it's not about like that. It's just like the tradition of all this stuff is gone. It's just money. It's just a
Yeah.
sport. It's just entertainment. It's just money at this point. It's what it is.
I mean, wait until they start kicking schools out of conferences that don't bring in money. Like
Like Rutgers out of the Big Ten.
exactly. Rutgers like we're a Big Ten school, and then eventually it's going to get to the point where Ohio State's like, why is Rutgers bringing down my paycheck? Like, bye bye. Like I don't need the New York market anyway. It's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in juncture, you could say with the Tennessee NIL story, Arkansas AD Hunter Urachek,
I don't know.
if that is spelled correctly. He's proposed an easy solution to NIL, and that is getting 10,000 households across Arkansas to donate $100 a month, and then they would be competitive in the NIL space.
It's
That's
that
12
simple.
million a year.
Yeah, $12 million. $1,200 from each household
Yeah,
a year. Just give $1,200.
it's a lot. It's a lot. Um, I mean, it kind of reminds me of what the Nebraska athletic director said this offseason, where he was like, we have 10 million, but Ohio State and Oregon, they have 20 million. And we can't compete unless we have 20 million. I think these athletic directors speak in hyperboles just to try to get more money. Um, there needs to be some sort of like publication of what players are actually getting paid so that there can be some sim
Market set.
yeah, some semblance of like market value, what like fair worth, things like that, and like also just the truth because right now athletic directors are just going out there and being like, guys, Alabama's getting $100 million a month in NIL. We have to compete with them. So come on, like dip
Give
into
me
your
your money. Yeah. Break that piggy bank.
yeah. Just all you got to do is put a second mortgage down. Maybe we'll be able to get a backup left. Maybe
Oh man.
it's that to me is more disgusting than what Tennessee is doing because Tennessee is like whatever. Colleges have operated as a business for a long time, but like that is like that's just manipulation to me, and that's gross. It's disgusting.
Disgusting.
All right, unless you got anything on that.
No, I mean it's just unfortunate. I hate to see it.
Right, moving on to the topic of the day, and that is realignment. We're okay talking about this realignment because it's factual.
Yeah.
Uh, last week, there's so much stuff out there where people just blatantly lie just to get people to click on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like every other example, the real thing comes out of nowhere. Um, so earlier today, today being Monday, the four American schools that um, the Pac-12 was targeting, which was Memphis, South Florida, Rice, and I think UTSA. Um, they all came out and said, no, actually, we're not going to join the Pac-12 because the Pac-12 didn't offer to pay their buyouts.
Mm.
Um, their buyouts were, I think, 25 million.
Okay.
Which, I mean, if you add it, that's 100 million, and
Mm-hmm.
that's 100 million, and they've already spent like a large portion of money to get the Mountain West schools out,
Mm-hmm.
and they only got 200 million from the settlement.
Mm-hmm. So the war chest is being depleted right now to rebuild the.
But also they need money to operate their athletic departments. And so you can only spend so much. It's not like you have $2 million to buy out schools. You need some of that money just to keep your programs going while you try to rebuild the Pac-12. So to them, 100 million, it was too much. And the American schools like, no, no, thanks, we're good. Uh, and then later, after the American schools said no, Utah State has accepted a bid to the Pac-12, while UNLV, the school that everyone thought was going to go to the Pac-12 from the Mountain West, has said that they're staying in the Mountain West.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting move. I think this has to do with state law in Nevada, where it's part of the UN system, University of Nevada system, where
Ah.
I think UNLV could separate themselves from UN Reno. Uh,
Mm.
at least if they did, there would have to be some sort of financial backing from UNLV, and I think they were just like, all right, whatever, we'll just stick with this. We're already making this much money anyway. Um, so that means Utah State is now gone. They're going to Pac-12. That brings the Pac-12 to 7, and that brings the Mountain West to 7. Air
Okay.
Force already expected to leave and go to the American to join Army and Navy. I personally expect that to happen.
Hmm.
That doesn't really leave much in the Pac-12 that you want, or the Mountain West that you want. There's like some Conference USA schools that you go and get.
Th-
Like
there is
that
an argument to be made since Cal and Stanford aren't making a big portion of the ACC pie.
with that they're going to come back.
They could, but it's also like the buyout there is ridiculous, as we've talked in previous weeks.
Yeah, they there's no way that they could afford that.
Mm-hmm.
So for the time being,
Let's
Cal,
see. Who else is there?
I mean, there's New Mexico State, New Mexico, UTEP. Those are some schools people have thrown out there.
Yeah.
I mean, you've
Colorado
still got
State
the
joined, right?
Colorado State has already agreed to join.
Right. So,
Um,
hmm.
you can still dip into the FCS. There's still the Montana schools. There's still UC Davis, Idaho.
But do you want that big of a portion of your conference to not be able to play postseason?
I mean, you got to get. So the thing is, you have to get to 8 teams to be officially considered a conference
And
by
they're
the
at
NCAA.
7, right?
They need one more. However, you need at least 10 teams to be allowed to host a conference championship game.
Ah,
And so,
so they really just need to get to 10.
yeah, they need 3 more.
So,
To stick FBS, then it's probably like New Mexico, New Mexico State, and like UTEP.
or they go, yeah, they go to Texas basically.
Well, they already tried and failed with UTSA and Rice. There's still Texas State out there, but the thing is, this Sun Belt's a good conference.
Mm-hmm.
In all honesty, the Sun Belt's a good conference. Um, I don't know if Texas State would want to leave for the Pac-12. They might, but Gonzaga, interestingly enough, is expected to join the Pac-12 in everything except for football.
Do they even have football?
I don't think they do, but they're expected to.
Hmm.
We'll see, but I don't know. It's hard to see where they go from here, especially
Yeah.
considering they couldn't get at any of the American teams. But I don't
Hmm.
know. I am expecting some FCS like powers to move up. Not necessarily the Dakotas, but I am expecting some schools like the 2 Montana schools. Maybe Idaho moves back up. Maybe UC Davis or Sacramento State.
Like I feel like Montana State's pretty well established. I feel like they could move up.
Yeah, I
They're
mean
the
Montana. I talked about this in the off season. Montana State recently built a $25 million multi-sport facility,
mm-hmm.
including football, of course. It's an indoor practice facility, and I was like, that's a big investment. And then I looked up Montana State's history. They have consistently moved up programs. They were like NAIA, and then they were D2, and then now they're FCS. So I don't know. For Montana State, I would just expect them at some point to be in the FBS.
Yeah. I could see it.
Yeah, I
It
don't know.
makes regional sense. It makes sense if they do have the investment and the backing to do it and support those programs. I mean, I'm just trying to think of like 2 other schools though. That's the tough part because like obviously UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington are in a great landing spot in the Big Ten. They're not going anywhere. Same thing with like Cal and Stanford. They're stuck. It's not like you can bring anyone back that left the Pac-12.
Yeah, it's just not financially viable.
Hmm. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we're just speculating.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm so interested in this because it is the first actually substantive news that we've gotten in a long time
Mm-hmm.
about realignment. But
It's actual movement again.
moving on, I think all we have left is the pick'ems. Is that
Yeah,
it?
yeah, I think that's about right. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
then pick'ems. We got them.
yeah,
Oh,
we do.
all right. We're gonna start with Friday game. That's right. This game is being played on Friday. We have Washington Rutgers.
At Rutgers.
Rutgers at Piscataway.
It
Um,
um I gotta lean Rutgers on this one, don't I? I think I have to pick Rutgers here.
I'm going with Rutgers too. I
It's
mean, solid identity this year. Their offense is not crazy, but they're well coached, and I just don't think Washington is that good.
Yeah, from where they were last year playing in a national championship game to where they are now. Or Final Four, whatever.
No, Washington was in the national
Oh, they were
championship game.
against Michigan? Okay, good. Yeah.
All right, next up we have Louisville versus Notre Dame. This is a rematch of last year's game. At Louisville is breaking out the green jersey, something they do not do.
Hmm. Uh, it's at Notre Dame. Notre Dame, simply put, has not looked very good this year. Like against NIU, A&M, they barely won. Didn't look great there.
It was like the only time they really looked good.
Yeah. Louisville,
Maybe go ahead.
no, you're fine. Louisville looked good their first two games, as expected, because they literally played a team that didn't have a coach. And then they also played a Jacksonville State team that's down this year. And then they played a Georgia Tech team that was like, thought it could be something, you know? But like, then again, that game is closer than what the score says, I felt like. Uh, I'm still going to pick Louisville, but both these teams have question marks for me.
So this comes down to two position groups. You know, you could say three. I'll say three. Um, Notre Dame has four injuries to the offensive line. There's four offensive linemen that are not going to be playing, and Louisville is a very, very good pass rush. That is going to be a major factor. Another major factor, Louisville has significant injuries to the cornerback room. They have three cornerbacks hurt. They're not all confirmed to be out versus Notre Dame, but any of them really hurts your depth. And Louisville's best cornerback, Quincy Riley, who is like a shutdown corner, he's hurt and
He
questionable.
he is hurt. He got hurt during the Georgia Tech game.
He's wearing he had both of his ankles taped up. He hurt both of his ankles in that game. Um, and then the other issue is Louisville's O line has not looked that good.
That
Lou-
right tackle spot looks awful.
Louisville has not had a very impressive looking O line, and Notre Dame has a good front seven. I don't know. I'm gonna lean Notre Dame just because I think Marcus Freeman's only good when they like when he gets hyped up for a game, and I think he'll be hyped up for this game. I, it could go either way, but I'm going with Louisville. All right, we've spent a lot of time on that one.
Well, as
uh,
expected.
homers. Next up, we've got Oklahoma State versus Kansas State. Both coming off of bad losses at Kansas State. I'm gonna take the Wildcats to bounce back.
I'm with you on that one because even though the score was 38-9, if you look at the stats and you see everything for what it was, Kansas State dominated that game and still lost by the margin they did. I know I'm saying this. Kansas State dominated BYU and lost by more than 20.
Yeah, they lost
So it's like, I can't do math. 2019. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And so, like, I
no, no,
personally, 29. Yeah, 29. Yeah. Uh, yeah, I'm going Kansas State here. I truly think they're going to bounce back. I think Oklahoma has a massive question mark with their identity in offense because if you can't throw the ball and teams are stacking the box, I truly think like how is your Heisman caliber running back going to be able to run the ball when everyone's stacking the box on you?
yeah, it's a good question, and Kansas State is a good defense, so we'll see.
Mhm.
Next up, we have Colorado versus Central Florida. It's at Central Florida.
It is.
Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna go with Colorado in this one.
Really? What has UCF done? I'm going to take a look real quick because honestly, I don't know enough about UCF.
Believe they are 3-0, but from what I've heard, I have not watched them this year. From what I've heard, they have looked a little underwhelming, and KJ Jefferson has not looked as good as expected.
They have KJ Jefferson?
Yep.
What a weird transfer. They,
Kenny Moon.
mm, they, I gotcha. I'm going UCF. Why?
Bye.
They have a bye week. They have extra time to prepare for this one. They came off a one. They are also undefeated. They are 3-0. They've beaten TCU and Sam Houston and New Hampshire. But yeah, give me UCF because they got time and they're at home against a Colorado team. Yeah.
This is a fun one. This is a really fun one, I think. Coming up next, we have Washington State versus Boise State.
Yeah.
Boise
A
State
future.
top 25 right now.
They
I know
might
they're right.
be. Here, I'll pull it
Yeah,
up.
they
AP.
are.
They are 25. They are.
And in our poll, they are 24.
There you go.
I'm gonna go with
Which one? Sorry.
Washington State. They've
Really?
looked impressive so far.
They are on the borderline of my rankings, but I'm going to stick with Boise State. Ashton Genty had a down game last week, only ran the ball for 125 yards.
That's scrub.
I know, right? Only on 14 carries too, I believe.
Yeah, because they probably didn't play him because they played um, Portland State. They're like, let's not hurt this guy. He's our bread and butter. Let's not kill him. All right, so we're dissenting there. Next up, we have Maryland versus Indiana. Look, man, it's the Signetti effect.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go with Indiana.
I'm with you on it. I have Indiana ranked for a reason. They're good.
Yeah, all right, there we go.
Indiana, honestly, I'm going to say this. They are a sleeper for the playoff.
Yeah, their schedule is extremely easy.
Their schedule is very easy. They could be competing in a Big Ten championship. I think it's unlikely, but they could be. They have right now, according to like expert predictors, like computers, they're at like a 20% chance to make the playoff.
When Kurt Signetti got hired in Indiana, I texted my group chat from like my friends from when I was in high school, and I was like, mark my words, if Kurt Signetti stays in Indiana, they will play in a Big Ten championship game within 10 years. Looking like a pretty good take. I don't know about you. I'm gonna toot
It's a
my own
pretty
horn a
good
little
one
bit.
right now. It's looking pretty good.
All right. Next up, we have Fresno State versus UNLV. UNLV topic of discussion today, of course. The Rebels, they have UNLV has never been ranked inside the AP top 25 for football.
Really.
They've never been ranked. I think UNLV wins this game.
They get ranked.
I think they win the week after when they play Syracuse, and then I think they get ranked.
I mean, they're not far off right now. They're sitting 29 in the AP, only behind Washington State, Indiana, and Boston College.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not by a lot of votes. Washington State has 67, Indiana has 63, Boston College has 55, UNLV 53. It is not far.
Think about a sleeper for the playoff. UNLV easily could be the Group of 5 representative.
If they got to beat Boise State, they also got to beat this Fresno State team too. But I think they do it.
All right. Next up, we have UNC versus Duke.
Duke, done. I mean, like, it's 70 points against JMU. I don't know how you can pick UNC right now. I know Duke sucks. But Duke doesn't give up 70 points to JMU.
No, they're well coached defensively. They don't have a very good offense, but you know. No, I'm going with Duke as well. There's not really much else to say.
Right.
Now, this easily could have been our game of the week if there wasn't another game going on. But Illinois versus Penn State.
It's a fun one. It really is.
Fun one.
Because it's at Penn State, and I think Illinois is new to this ranking thing. Like it takes time to like have these games, expect these games. It's one thing to play a ranked team at Nebraska and go in there and win. Don't get me wrong. Big environment, sold out crowds. It's going to be the exact same thing in Happy Valley. I just think this is the next level. And I don't know if they're ready for that next level. The first level, they went into overtime and found a way to win. This is the next level, and I think they're just not ready yet. I'm going to go with the Nittany Lions.
This could be a very close game.
I think it will be.
Um, I am gonna go with Penn State as well, simply because I think James Franklin has been so good in Big Ten games, minus the COVID year when they didn't win a single game. But that's beside the point. He's been so good in the Big Ten against teams not named Michigan or Ohio State.
Yes, exactly.
I think while Illinois, I think they are good this year. They've got a good defense and they've got a
Mhm.
very good quarterback, at least for the college level, it looks like.
Yeah,
Penn State.
yeah. I think this is just the next tier up, and I don't think they're going to get done. Just also because it's in Happy Valley.
Arizona versus Utah. This is the game that will show if Utah is able to cruise for the rest of the season or not, essentially.
I thought Arizona was going to be good. I was high on Arizona, and they've really let me down. Um, Utah right now is the best team in the Big 12. I think by at least a head. So I mean, like, give me Utah.
Yeah, I'm going with the Utes as well. I I don't know if it matters if Cam Rising's healthy or not because Arizona has shown that they don't really have a very good defense this year.
Mm, yeah,
That's, I think if Cam Rising's healthy, I think they score a ton on Arizona, and I think if Isaac Wilson, brother of Zach Wilson, has to play, uh, then I think they'll be effective enough. So I'm going with Utah. Finally, game of the week. Surprise, surprise. It's Georgia, Alabama.
it's the
I mean,
one that's circled on the calendar.
this has been a rivalry in like the last like 7 years. You
Just
know,
be well, just because they've always met up in the SEC championship game because of how the East and West was.
for the national championship,
That too.
twice in the national championship game.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go with Georgia.
Okay.
I don't think Alabama has looked as impressive as I would have liked them to look, and I think same with Georgia. However, I think uh, a Georgia team that is established under Kirby Smart, I think will have the edge in this game over an Alabama team that is still establishing itself under Kalen DeBoer, who I think is an incredible coach. I'm just giving Georgia's culture, the culture of driving it like you stole it, uh, the edge over Alabama. That joke didn't get a laugh.
Sorry. I was analyzing. I, uh, I want to pick Georgia, but there's a couple of factors here. It's in Tuscaloosa. Also to note, we said this off camera. This is the first time Alabama is an underdog in Tuscaloosa for the first time since 2007. Um, they're not a dog by much. I just can't get over the fact that Georgia almost lost to Kentucky. You know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just I, I want to pick Georgia, but like it was a 1 point game, and Alabama has started off slow in games for
Right.
most of it. They started off slow against WKU, it looked like for a little bit. Then they hummed 63-0. Started off slow against South Florida, hummed 42-16. And then they went into Wisconsin and beat the crap out of Luke Fickle. I'm gonna go with Alabama. They have a Heisman caliber quarterback, in my opinion, in Jalen Milroe. They lost some pieces on defense, but I still think they can have depth there to do something. I know it's Georgia. I'm going with Alabama here.
All right. Those are our pick'ems. That's
Yeah.
our episode. We hope if you made it this far, comment down below who you think's gonna win. Why not? It's fun. Uh, Jacob, I'm talking to you. Comment, um, subscribe, like, do all that stuff. We hope to see you in the next episode. Bye bye.